Assalamu alaikum. My name is Kimberly. My Islamic name is Hadija. I have been struggling to stay in Islam as a white American female revert. After posting my initial video, I had an overwhelming amount of support. It was very kind and I'm very humble. And I really don't want to let everyone down. And on that note, I had a comment from someone that said, you shouldn't be worried about letting other people down. You should be worried that you're letting Allah down. And I agree. And I think this shows me and you where my heart is at the moment. And that's why I made this channel. I've decided to start at the beginning and I will share what I'm learning. My videos may be something that can help others that are in my place. I was speaking to a friend of mine, and it became apparent that a lot of native Muslim born people don't understand how very little most people in the West know about Islam. When I converted, I knew that I liked the Azan. I found it to be really beautiful and really peaceful. And I have some memories of the Azan in Dubai that are just beautiful memories. And I knew that we have to pray 5 times a day. And I knew a few other things, but I'm learning that there is so much more to learn. So, from the beginning, there are 5 pillars of Islam. There is Kalima or Shahada, which is the profession of faith. There is Salah or prayer. There is Zakah or Zakat, which is charity. There is Som or Rosh, which is fasting. And then there is Hajj, which is the pilgrimage to Mecca. I thought this would be easy and I would do just a quick 8-minute video on all 5 pillars. And there's so much more information that it's going to be 5 videos. So this is going to be the first pillar of Islam, and that is the Kalima or the Shahada, which is the profession of faith. Now, a person that is born into Islam, so has a Muslim father, that precious little baby is turned to its right side and the Azan is whispered into its ear. And that seems to be all a Muslim has to do to be like brought into the Islamic faith. I think it's so sweet. So they're not actually required to say the Shahada. Now, a person who is not born Muslim and wants to convert can do it very easily by reciting the Shahada. One of the reasons Islam is a growing faith is the fact that it's a very easy conversion or reversion. No classes, nothing like that. The Shahada can be said anywhere. I said mine in a mosque in Texas with the Imam, and it just says, Ashhadu Allah ilaha illa Allah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu, which means I bear witness there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. There are a few other translations, but it all comes down to this. Here's where it gets more interesting. Now, a person cannot just say the Shahada and walk away, which I think is really important. When I got to Afghanistan, they loved me so much, they wanted to save my soul. And I actually had a few Afghans like hand me the dasbe and have me repeat this. I had no idea what I was saying. But Allah doesn't want it that way. Allah actually wants some accountability, and I have found that to be very interesting. So there's actually 7 conditions of the Shahada for a person who reverts, right? And some say it's 9, but most of them say 7, and I think it's just the last 2 conditions, like don't worship idols and don't worship another religion. So, okay, we won't. And I think that actually goes into the other 7 conditions. So, these 7 conditions are ilm, which is knowledge, yaqeen, which is certainty, kaba, or kabul, which is acceptance, inqiyad, which is submission, siddiq, which is truthfulness, ikhlas, which is sincerity, and mahabba, which is love. And we can break that down even further. Allah gives us 3 types of ilm, which is knowledge. The first is Huda, which is the Quran, and the Quran is our guiding light. The next one is Al-Furqan, the separation of right from wrong. You got to take some responsibility, right? And the next one is Al-Ilm, which is kind of complex and kind of simple altogether, but it translates into to know something, to recognize something, to perceive it, to have a cognition of reality. It is the knowledge that Allah is in our innate being. Right? So that's the first thing. There was a gentleman by the name of M.A. Khan who in 2022 published an article by the name of The Concept of Knowledge in the Quran. And he explains that these 3 types of knowledge, Huda, Furqan, and Ilm, are given to us by Allah for our use during our time on earth, also known as Hasana, and for our otherworldly salvation, which is called Falah. The next part goes right along with knowledge, and that is the yaqeen, which is our certainty. And I really like this because there are 3 types of yaqeen. Now, the first is ilm, yaqeen, and if we remember the word ilm, it means knowledge. So we have a certainty in our knowledge, right? That Allah is everywhere. Then there's the haq yaqeen, which is based on the feeling. Like we just feel that it's true and we're certain of it. And the last one is the ayn al-yaqeen, which is based on seeing, right? And this is the one that they say belongs to the disbelievers. Because with the ayn al-yaqeen, these people want to see Allah to believe it. Like they don't want to go off their feelings, and they don't want to just go off their faith, and they don't want to follow the guiding light. They want to see this. Well, guess what? They're not going to see it. So they're disbelievers. So I have read that a lot of scholars consider these two pillars to be superior to Islam because without having ilm, knowledge, and yaqeen, certainty, there is no basis to practice your Islam. Like if you don't believe and you're sure it's true, like if you don't have a faith, you don't have Islam, right? If you do not believe in Allah and His word, capital H, then Islam does not even exist for you. So that was so interesting, right? Like before you can even practice, you have to be able to say, I got a faith in this, right? I love that. Now, the rest are kind of smaller than that. The next one is called acceptance or kaba or I've seen both of those when I was doing a little research. And it's kind of beautiful. But this is, as Muslims, we accept all that Allah has to offer. And when I mean all, I mean what, as human beings, we call good, and as human beings, we call bad, right? As we all know, these are words created by the human mind. Allah is the great planner and gives us what is best for us. Once we can accept the bad from Allah, that is where we find our peace in Allah. So through our greatest hardships is where we come closer to Allah. And on that, I have a quick question for the brothers and the sisters watching this. Sorry to deviate, but I would love to see it in a comment section. So I find that Muslims as a whole are extremely devout, and I find that Muslims all over the world accept painful situations and hard situations as the will of Allah, right? And they just say, Allah loves me and He tests me. It's Allah's will. However, I hear a lot of these people, when it's a non-Muslim that something happens, they're like, oh, look at Allah's punishment on that person for not believing. So my question is, what's the difference? And if somebody can explain it, or maybe we're just a little bit hypocritical, we're human. So, but I'd like to hear what people have to say. But I do see 100% that those who believe in Allah get closer to Allah through their tests. And those who don't believe become very angry, bitter, resentful people that just walk around and talk about how bad the world is, you know. So I do see that. The next part is submission or inqiyad, and that is the trust in Allah. I mean, submission is the trust in Allah's leadership, and you put the needs of Allah before your own. He will never do anything to harm you, and you can rest like a baby in this promise, right? And I think this is the hardest one for me. I can't speak for everyone, but I know as an American woman, the thought of submission is very difficult. There is a definite lack of trust instilled into a majority of educated American women. And it's very hard for us to say, yeah, I'll do whatever you say. Not easy, and I am working on that. The next condition is truthfulness, or sidq. A gentleman by the name of Fethullah Gulen defined truthfulness as struggling to preserve one's integrity and to avoid lying, even in strained circumstances where a lie would release you. Allah is the helper of the truthful. And with truthfulness comes sincerity. And that's basically to mean what you say. And, to not be sincere with another human being, I think a lot of people have been guilty of that at one time or another. But to not be sincere with Allah, what's the point? Allah knows your heart. Allah knows every hair on your head. He knows every pebble on the beach. He knows if you're sincere or not. And sincerity is number 6, and that's the glass. So we're almost done. Finally, the 7th condition is mahaba, or love. Love Allah with all your heart. And I find that this is kind of a circle, right? Because I find that true love brings out the acceptance, submission, truthfulness, sincerity of people to one another and of people to Allah, right? And I find that acceptance, submission, truthfulness, and sincerity brings love to us. So the Shahada is only the beginning. Many reverts, like myself, have a lot of baggage that blocks our ability to receive our love from Allah. And it can be difficult to let guards down and allow the glory of love, which is our ultimate connection to Allah. But without those 7 conditions, our Shahada is just words. Our Shahada is just that person in Afghanistan that wanted to jump in and save my soul, and I had no idea what I was saying. And I don't think that it is going to all happen like, I say my Shahada and suddenly it all makes sense that I'm living in the light of Allah. I think it comes. And I do have the first 2 already. I have my knowledge and I have my certainty. Allah exists. Next week, we're going to work on Salah, the prayer. And I have a feeling that is going to be a lot of work and kind of a long video. So get ready. And thank you again for all your support. Like and subscribe. As my channel grows, I do plan to get a better background and some better lighting. But until then, assalamu alaikum. Allahu Akbar.